Once again, I'm Joel Sherrouse, Development Coordinator. Fortunately, we've had some excellent questions from Shannon that are going to help us speed through some of this stuff because she jumped ahead. So in the past, we've kind of started with this, then gone on to everything we've just seen. But when we talk about the process, it was always like, well, what's a plat? What's a site plan? So this time we decided to mix it up a little bit. We try to explain what it is, then we explain the order. So let us know if that is more or less confusing because we always want feedback. But, so the process to development, this is from our new small business development guide, which everyone should have a copy of there. So it's really early in that development guide. The good news is this is a 10-step process that for most small businesses, only like 3 steps apply. So the first thing you want to do after you've found a property you want to move into or a property you want to develop, you're going to get with your professional design team and you're going to schedule a meeting, what we call a DRC or a design review committee meeting. And that's a meeting where we'll do it either via Microsoft Teams, like an online chat, or we can do it in person at the city, typically held on Thursdays. And you'll actually get to have a meeting with people from our planning team. Our city engineer walked in a little while ago. Assistant director Andrew, she walked in a little while ago. So engineering will be there, planning will be there, permitting, building, some of the city management, the Economic Development Corporation. And we get to kind of sit down and have kind of the closest thing you can have to an informal spitball session with city staff. And we talk about your project and help determine what your path forward is, and that's also we can tell you which of these steps we've talked about you might have to go through or what you might not have to go through. So it's just a chance to kind of get feedback on what you need to do, because our goal is to help you get to the finish line, because we know all this stuff can be intimidating. So first step, talk to us. Then we're going to have you go on to our online portal. We do all of our permitting through what's called the mygovernmentonline.org customer portal. So you're going to log in there, and that's where you can apply for anything planning and zoning related, anything building related. You can even do code enforcement there. So you can go on there, log in, create an account, and then if you're moving into a pre-existing building, you get to skip steps 3 through 7.
Oh, wow.
For the most part. Every now and then you might have an SUP, but most of the time you get skip straight to step 8. But we'll get to that in a minute. If you are doing something a little more intense, we're going to have you submit what's called a letter of intent, where you're going to go on My Government Online and you're going to say, hey, this is what we want to do, this is the timeline we want to do it in, this is the process that we want to engage with. And then if it looks like something that's going to be very intense, we're probably going to schedule another meeting with y'all called a scoping meeting. The next step is you're going to submit your initial project plans. So this is if you're going to be doing platting, if you need to do site development, if you need to do a special use permit or specific use permit, if you need to go HPC, that's where you submit your initial plans and staff reviews them. So for larger developments, this is the area of the process that can take a few months sometimes. Because what you're going to do, you're going to submit your plans, staff is going to review the plans, we're going to communicate with you. We're also going to, so you might submit plans and say, hey, these are great, let's move on to the commission. It might be submit them like, hey, we need a little work here, we need to work with your engineers on this, and we just do a little back and forth. And that review, depending on the project, can take a few months. But we're going to do a little back and forth and make sure that your project is, meets all city standards, and we've come up with a path forward that's going to be good for your business, good for the city. Then, if your project requires it, for instance, for most kinds of plats, for a specified use permit, for historic preservation, like Will was just speaking about, we're going to go to our board and commission hearings. So sometimes the wait on these projects is, if you need to go to HPC, well, we meet once a month. So if you want to get your project done in a week, that's going to be difficult. But we're going to have our board commission hearings. Then after you have all of your approvals, you're going to, for the site development, you're going to request called a pre-construction meeting, where we just get the contractors, the engineers, the city staff, all together in one meeting to talk about, okay, we're about to break ground, this is the process. And after that meeting, you can have your plans officially signed. And then you're ready to move forward. So, but once again, I said, step 2, if you're not doing site development, if you don't need to go through HPC, if you don't need to have a plat, you can skip most of those steps. You can jump straight over here, where we're at now. Step number 8, it's applying for our building permits. So these building permits, the building permit could be you're building a new building. It could be you're renovating an existing building. It could be a little small thing. You may only need to add new air conditioning units. Well, you can apply for that mechanical permit. This is also where you would do your sign permits. I know there's some questions about that. Signs, there is some confusion sometimes on signs. The person to talk to about that is I know he hasn't had much time to shine so far, but he's kind of our sign expert. But that's where we're going to apply for those permits, and we're going to review those. Now, this step right here, number 8, is usually much quicker because a lot of the difficulty on sites is your subdivision of property, your development of the site itself. The buildings themselves, it's a lot of times it comes down to, is the use allowed and does it meet building code? And our building official is right now very, very quick at doing building permits. So usually you're looking about, if your plans all meet code, you're looking at close to like a week turnaround. It's very, very quick at that point. Once you get your building permits, you start building your building, or you start installing your air conditioning, or you start putting in your signs. At that point, you can start scheduling inspections as things are built up. We do have a list like, we have these 5 inspections you have to complete before you can do these 5 inspections, before you can do these 5 inspections. Once you've passed all inspections on if you have on the site, on the building, where all inspections have passed, you get that piece of paper that you're out here to get, that certificate of occupancy. The certificate of occupancy is what says, hey, we can open our business. And so that's the end goal. So oh yes sir.
Just a real quick question. In that process with all the inspections, does that include the fire marshal?
Yes, and actually the fire marshal, so there's actually something to get out there. So the city of Buda does not have a fire department. We work with Hays County Emergency Service District number 8, also called Buda Fire. And the fire marshal, Mike Duffy, does work with us on projects. He has access to the My Government Online Customer Portal. So when it comes to building plan review, site review, inspections, he has access to the same portal we do. So we can work together on that. That's one real great thing about using this My Government Online Portal is we can invite people from other jurisdictions in to look at some of the stuff. So that's an excellent question. Thank you. So here's a big one. What requires a permit? Because a lot of people, that's one of the most common calls I used to get back when I sat in I still get it pretty often. I used to be the permit technician. One of the most common calls we get is, do I need a permit? And first off, the answer is, if you don't know for sure, absolutely ask. Some say it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. That is not true in this case. Ask permission. So first off, a lot of things we get for people is like, hey, I want to do the work myself. And for your home, absolutely the case. For a lot of stuff, you can register as a general contractor for your business because there's no licensing for general contractor. But for commercial work, if it's something that has a trade license, so electrician, mechanical, plumbing, a lot of people are surprised with sign electricians, that's a separate license. We do require licensed contractors to do the work. But even if you're doing the work yourself, because like if you're doing framing or something, any of the work you're doing yourself still has to be done to code. So if it's something you gotta try to tackle yourself, that does not require one of those trades, you still have to do it to code, it's still going to be inspected. So just keep that in mind. We've had a few people bite off a little more than they can chew, and that can get very expensive on them later. Saving money can be expensive. So yeah, know your limits. Cosmetic work generally does not require a permit as long as it's inside. If it's outside, it might, especially if you're Historic Preservation Commission. But like if you're changing cabinets, replacing flooring, changing out a toilet or a faucet fixture, that doesn't require a permit. But if you are if you're doing something with the pipes and the plumbing, that's going to require a plumbing permit. If you're doing anything with the air conditioning, that's going to require a mechanical permit.
If you're moving walls, that's probably.
What?
If you're moving walls.
If you're moving walls, that's a big one. Like if you want to paint the walls, that's fine because that doesn't change the structure. When it comes to the permitting side, a lot of it's about life, health, safety. Oh, yeah.
I accidentally animated it.
Okay, and we have an animated slide. Next slide with the animation. All right. The permit process itself, like we said, is going to go through the same thing as everything else. This is My Government Online Customer Portal. It's a system that is getting increasingly user-friendly. It's not perfect, but it's getting better. The neat thing, it is run actually by a planning department in Louisiana. So it's run by people who are in the business, and we work with them, and we're very happy with it. They're very responsive, not always quickly responsive, but they respond to our feedback. We like them a lot, and they're there to help just like we are. For anyone who's wondering, we have moved on to the 2021 International Building Code, International Residential Codes, the 2020 National Electric Code. We also have 2020 Fire Code. Basically, everything's 2021 except for electric, which is 2020. Building permits are issued usually, we say 10 business days. It's usually much faster. I've had permits turn around before in like 15 minutes before. Don't expect that, but it's happened. Permit, once you get to actual building permits, other than site development, you have 180 days, which can be dormant. Meaning, if it goes 180 days without you making some kind of forward progress, your permit's expired and you have to reapply. Inspections are required at key points of construction, and you want to make sure you're aware of what is needed in what order. That's why we have them broken up into categories on the My Government Online portal, because if you do electrical work, then put the sheetrock up, and we have an electrical inspection, that sheetrock's coming down, because we have to do the electrical inspection. So you do need to make sure that all of your inspections are carried out. We have had situations where people didn't do rebar inspections and poured concrete, and concrete's got to come up, and you don't want to get yourself in that position. But just everyone needs to make sure that they keep on top of their inspections. And usually inspections can be scheduled as early as the next business day. We have 3 inspectors, like 2 for most projects and 1 for like site inspections. So different kinds of inspectors, but they are very responsive. Typically, if you ask for the next business day, we'll do it. And we actually just recently got My Government Online to take out city holidays on the inspection scheduling. So like we're closed on Monday. If you try to schedule inspection this coming Monday, it won't let you. So that's a new change we're happy to have. But I think that brings us to the end of our presentation.